Excellency Shujiro Sims, the Ambassador of the European Union to the Pacific, the Executive Director of Dialogue Fiji, Mr. Lal, the Acting Permanent Secretary of Agriculture, Dr. Vinesh Kumar, Madam, the representative from European Union. I forgot your surname, Madam, but Barbara is your first name. I find it a bit awkward to address you by your first name. Our staff from Ministry of Agriculture and Waterways, the leaders of the community here, farmers, and the members of the Drasa cooperative farmers. Thank you, Bulabinaka, to you all. Excellency, Mr. Lal, ladies and gentlemen, for us in agriculture, waterways, and environment, we are very heavily connected with the people on the ground. And whenever we are with the people on the ground, we feel that we are doing justice in terms of getting service to you, in terms of measuring the output, in terms of witnessing how it is making a difference to you, the livelihood of the community, and when you add it up in addressing the national goal. So it's always a pleasure to be with the community, and as Excellency alluded to a while ago, that it's very different when you come to the ground and see firsthand how collectively our work, our effort, our resources is making a difference. Today is a very exciting day, a very happy day, and also a proud day for all of us when we see that we have achieved a number of objectives with support from European Union and Dialogue Fiji with regard to not only agriculture but also improving livelihood for the people. We are able to break through in terms of getting people on the ground to adopt new technology so that we can push the frontier, push the boundary. There's an extent to which we can increase output and productivity with the status quo. Beyond that, it requires technological change, technological introduction. And today we have seen that this community, who have been doing farming for ages, openly were willing to adopt this technology of using irrigation, drip irrigation, and hydroponics and greenhouse. Sometimes people in the agrarian society, agrarian community shy away from adopting new technology, and becomes a daunting challenge for us, the policymakers, to bring in a new technology so that we can really push the boundary, push the frontier, and increase output. As we know, for Ministry of Agriculture, we want households to do well. We want agriculture to grow in not only the interest of the farmers in the community, but in national interest. There are several benefits of a growing agriculture sector, and we need to ensure that we are, in the forefront in terms of pushing for agriculture growth and development. Over the last 1.5 years, we faced major challenge with regard to COVID-19. And I have been constantly having discussion with my staff saying that every challenge, every obstacle also opens up new opportunities. And I must say that with COVID-19, we were able to see how we could get agriculture to the forefront of the people of this country. And we have seen small but significant movement of people towards agriculture. Back to village, back to rural area, back to maritime, back to agriculture. Because they realize that agriculture is one sector which, despite the economy coming to a standstill, provided hope for people, for households, to sustain their livelihood. And they realize that they've got what it requires to sustain their livelihood, land resources. We have seen young people showing interest. We have seen landowners showing interest. We have seen households showing interest to mobilize resources for agriculture growth and development. In fact, 2020 agricultural exports were higher than exports in 2019 in terms of volume by 16%, and in terms of value by 24%. Remarkable achievement despite all the challenges we faced last year. This year, first 6 months, our exports went up by 8% relative to last year, first 6 months. We're looking at further pushing exports. And I've been, yesterday I met several farming communities, and I've been highlighting to them that one of the crucial issues farmers always ask is about market. And I said to them that we are now will be in a situation where we don't want to divert produce which is going to export to fulfill demand in the local sector. Tourism sector is opening up, and there's new opportunities. I've also said that I want to put the challenge to the tourism sector. They should start buying locally. It is now time that they get serious about contributing to the local economy, to the agriculture sector, by re-looking at their purchasing model, they're re-looking at their entire business model. For so long, purchasing officers and CEOs found it very easy to basically press a button and get fresh produce imported from New Zealand and Australia. But it's time that they re-look at how they could contribute towards providing market to our produce in the country. There's no reason why we can make smoothies from the local fruits that we have. There's watermelon year-round, pineapple year-round, and there are other seasonal fruits that they can tweak a little bit their ingredients that they use in smoothies, and entirely all the smoothies can come from locally available fruits. Same applies to vegetable. I said at a function yesterday, there was somewhere about a couple of years ago, in an a la carte menu it was written local spinach. And I said, what is local spinach? So when it came, I saw steamed belly rolled and tied up. There you go. I mean, every country should showcase what they have. It is not that tourists would want to come and only want to eat what they've been eating there. They want a new experience, not only in terms of the environment, but also in terms of food. They would want to experience local cuisine. So it's important that the hotel industry thinks hard and makes some hard decisions in terms of minimizing exports of vegetables, fresh produce, and sourcing it locally. We've been hearing a lot saying that it's volume, consistency, quality issue. But the reality of the matter is that if you go, there's a common line there. If you go to hotels in the morning for breakfast, etc., you don't say that, look, I really want grapes and oranges and apple, etc. You hardly go down to that level. So I urge the hotel tourism sector, the hotels in particular, that they should now relook at sourcing from locally, and I challenge the farmers that they should rise up and meet the demand that'll open up as the borders will open, as the tourism sector is now opening. Ladies and gentlemen, as alluded to by the Director Lal, we want to thank the European Union for supporting Fiji's agriculture sector. They've been a partner with us. They've been providing direct budget support for agriculture since last financial year. And you have seen difference on the ground in terms of agricultural production. It has, in real terms, expanded, and there's lot to do. There's more to do, and we want agriculture to expand in commercial terms. But for that, farmers should see agriculture as a business. They should not differentiate agricultural work with the formal sector. They must give the same, if not more, value and weight and importance to agriculture as they are giving to the formal sector where they were working before. So it is time that we continue to push beyond the existing boundaries, think outside the box, and I'm urging farmers that they should look at utilizing the resources year-round, either through technological introduction and also through crop diversification and crop rotation. I was at a Talanoa session last night in Batwaliu, and some farmers asked me, Dr. Reddy, you are saying that there's you should pushing for non-sugar agriculture, but there's certain topography that is not suitable for non-sugar agriculture. That's why we can only grow cane. That's not wrong. That's not true. There are crop types that are suitable for steeper land, such as pulses. They are which is quite drought tolerant. They are crops which are suitable for saline soil type near the coastal areas. We got rice varieties which are suitable for that. We are now promoting rice in the Western Division, which is short-term, rain-fed. But again, you can grow one or two crops, but we are saying that with introduction of irrigation, you can have 3 crops. And that's amazing because, rice, the variety that we're promoting this side, is a 100-day variety. You can easily harvest 3 crops if you have got irrigation like what we have set up here. So now with the technology, you can better utilize and fully utilize your land. But agriculture practices should be sustainable. Excellency spoke about our building our resources and making it climate proof, and for that we need to ensure that agriculture is sustainable. We use sustainable agricultural practices. So it's very important that we look at agriculture from a long-term perspective, so that what we do now does not have a negative impact on the soil condition and the environment in the longer run, so that our future generations get affected negatively. So very excited that we have introduced this technology here, and this model farm will be utilized to train other farmers. And I want to thank the cooperative for accepting our request to allow training to be taken every now and then. And we also want to thank the supplier. We were able to get very good deal. Ms. Chow is somewhere here, very good deal. And the interesting part is that before some decades back, 2 decades back, these were very expensive to set up a hydroponics system, to set up a nursery, to set up a drip irrigation in your farm. But now these are relatively cheap because of competition, because of technological development within that sector that is able to now reduce the cost of those units that is utilized to establish this systems like hydroponics or greenhouse or drip irrigation. So it's quite relatively cheap, readily available. This farm, we have set up both the nursery and the hydroponics, a small unit. The thing is that from there, this group will expand. They've got about 10 members in the cooperative. So eventually they would want to then set up smaller units on their own farm, as well as expand the existing unit and the other units. So it's scalable. The way it is set up, it's scalable. And that's the model we have for all the other places where we provide leverage to farmers, is that they need to grow. We are giving them an initial startup and a leverage, but from there they will grow on their own. So the ministry, on behalf of Honorable Prime Minister, we are very excited about where we're taking agriculture, but we need support from all stakeholders, the landowners, the farmers, the workers, the input suppliers. And if we can involve everyone, then when the sector grows and surplus is created, then the surplus will be distributed to all these people who participate. So the more and more people participate in the growth process of agriculture, the better it is in terms of distribution of income. So very excited, and I want to again end by thanking European Union. Excellency has been here previously in his other capacity as Ambassador of France to Fiji, and we have had a very good relationship since then. And he's one of those persons whom we can openly discuss and challenge each other, interrogate each other in terms of the ideas And so, Excellency, it's a pleasure to have you in this other capacity where the bag and the bucket is much larger. Thank you very much. And Director Lal, myself, we again go back along when he was a student at USP and I was there, and we worked together, and since then we have known each other, and a very bright young person and very innovative. He thinks outside the box, and it's a pleasure to work with Dialogue Fiji. Barbara, thank you. Meeting again here. I think last time we met in Bar. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you, Naka. I'm excited to go with Excellency and Director Lal and officially join Excellency and Director Lal to commission your model farm. Thank you, Naka.
Naka.
Yeah. Between lines, one is.
Yeah.
That's fast. Should have that in my garden.